Hey everyone, like I said, my name is Sam Kann. April, thanks for the intro. I serve as a CTO at Link, which stands for Learning Innovation Catalyst. It's a leading professional development company and coaching platform for teachers. Our primary segment are teachers within K-12 space, like I shared, and beyond. I'm also the founder of mycalllife.com, which is a social relationship management technology for high school students transitioning from high school, that is, to college, universities, and trade schools. We really help students understand their personality, their career interest, what is that interests them, what is the career pursuit, and things of that nature. And definitely hit me up or reach out to me after directly if you want to learn more about Link and also about the My Call Life technology. Today, I labeled my talk, I'd rather call it journey or a storytelling, rebuilding your K-12 learning culture into an adaptable powerhouse. To me, rebuilding and adapting technology and making it a powerhouse is key, some of the key factors, irrespective of what vertical you're from, whatever it may be. For me, being in K-20, as a matter of fact, education has been part of my ecosystem, and making education tech and adaptable powerhouse is part of my domain, and something that I'm keenly interested and I strive for every day. At Link, this is something that we do, and with pandemic, in play, and with all of the remote work that happened due to that, and Link being a fully remote company that's fully 100% remote, something that we intentionally do is connection before content. We intentionally want to connect with our audience, with our, if it is internal team or external team, we just want to really connect, have a conversation before we dive into the meat of the discussion. So quickly, I don't know, April, please chime in if this is possible, but I would love everyone in one word, share with, now that we had a break, we had a time to reflect on all of the talks that we heard throughout. And I can tell you, I'm super pumped, and my one word is excited. So we will do it in a waterfall effect. When I say 3, 2, 1, and go, you can, into the chat, you can put that one word that where your mind is right now. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. Type in that one word that you are, where your mind is at this point. I don't see the chat box, so definitely, April, please do chime in if you see any responses. So that is something that we love doing at Link. So for today's talk, it is just, I want to keep it very simple. We just have one goal or objective. And this is, I'm going to go with this, one of my favorite Chinese proverbs. And it goes like this: it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Again, it is better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. To me, my garden is the ed tech. Everything Link is my garden. As a CTO for Link, what is your garden? As in a personal, professional, whatever domain you are in, whatever capacity you are in right now. As we go through this talk, also in parallel, identify the garden that you are in. Or you could be in a war, being a gardener, identify that garden in a war. So let us kind of keep that in mind as we progress through this conversation. As you can see, there are 4 icons at the top right-hand corner. And that is our foundational or golden rule or foundational model or principles within Link. We use that within internally within our team, externally with our stakeholders and our clients, and it's embedded into every single product delivered to the masses through Link. And those icons stand for, the first icon stands for spark, the second icon stands for reflect, and the third stands for tinker, and the fourth icon stands for grow. So today, as we are going through this, we will take the journey through that process, where as a CTO, how am I able to bring about change within the company in not only from a cultural standpoint and what we believe in and what we stand for, but also from a technology standpoint, from a revenue standpoint, from a cash flow standpoint, things of that nature. So as we get into Spark, keep in mind, warrior, garden, gardener, war. A quick historical catch-up in regards to my journey. I started off as a software engineer. I was a young buck, really young, loved coding. I was into accounting, and then got introduced to computers and never looked back. I love it. I loved coding, over the time of 8 to 10 years, thousands and thousands of lines of code for multiple hundreds of projects. So from a software engineering, quickly I found out I'm able to lead. So I started doing project management and ultimately progressing into IT director. And from there, you are now able to really get into the trenches with the audience. Meet up with, being in education. You're meeting with the high school students or college students. You're meeting with their parents where their children are their first generation students, and you're really understanding the problems. At that point in time, I started questioning myself and saying, hey, I want to be at the table. I want to be at the president's table, president's cabinet. I want to be pitching technology and change in technology with the board of directors and things of that nature. So that led me to be a CIO, and that I for about a decade I served as a CIO and then transitioned into a CTO because I definitely wanted to get into the startup ecosystem and lead engineering teams, making transformational changes and disruptive changes within ed tech. So that's Joe and Ling, and the journey has been absolutely awesome. And we've been building some amazing PD technology for the teachers and for the masses out there. The core. When I started as a CTO, the core, again, in your domain, in your world, in your garden, it is important to understand the core. For me, professional development for teachers in a fast-moving world and how technology can help. That was my core. And within my garden, to identify that core is key. So within your domain, making sure that you identify your core would go a long way. Rather than hearing a lot of noises from all over the place, it is always good to embrace those noises. But end of the day, you really have to kind of parse out the core, purge out the core that you really want to focus in on as a tech lead or as a technologist or the up-and-coming CTO or CIO, or you have your own startup company, whatever it may be. Understanding a core is important. For me, within that domain, it was very crucial to understand that teachers, the single most school-based determinant of student learning, are teachers. And so when I build technology, when I receive requirements from the product team and really get into the fine-grained aspect of developing technology, there are a few things that I need to clearly identify. These are not new things that I invented. These have been around forever. We have been recycling it and cycling it for a long time. And so all of you can relate to this, but it's always good to recalibrate some of these things, right? So for me to, some of the things that I, wanted to recalibrate or identify were designed with the users in mind. So understanding the teachers, their problems, and really keeping that in mind, how they would engage. From an adoption standpoint, from a usage standpoint, how is it all going to come together is key. The next one is use existing technology. When it comes to teachers, you quickly learn they love certain tools that help with their progress and with their classroom space and how they engage with students. So they are familiar with a lot of existing technologies that's their go-to. Within our ed tech world, there's Flipgrid, technologies called Flipgrid, technologies called Jamboards that teachers heavily use, and they love it. So making sure that as part of your core SaaS platform or core technology offering, embedding or integrating other existing technologies go a long way, and then your again, the adoption rate it correlates directly with the adoption rate as well. Give users option to access content. So, you have to look into how much of free content, how much of paid content, but having access to content to a certain degree is key for decision making. So from a product standpoint, understanding that value proposition is important. Train users on how to use technology, no matter how easy the technology is from an onboarding standpoint or how complex. And if you have a complex technology from an onboarding standpoint, then we need to have a conversation because that's a major bottleneck. That is a blocker. So understanding, helping users to train, in this case, teachers, to train on how to use our technology is key. Ensuring technology enables and not a driver is a vital factor, because at the end of the day, from my standpoint, I am looking at the product and going, this should be an enabler and not a driver. Am I enabling the teachers to go into classroom and really deliver the content that they want to deliver, really deliver the responses the students are looking for, that is adaptable and agile and things of that nature. So enabling the teacher. So in your domain, it is important, your user base that you look at, your core audience, your primary segment, making sure that you are an enabler and not a driver is a key factor. So from here, once I identify my core and some of those design contents, and as I created the spark as the company CTO, I wanted to get into the reflect aspect of things. From a reflect, one of the first things, and one of our first speaker talked about human capital. The important thing that we need to look into right away from a reflect standpoint is human capital. Right now, as a small to medium business, as you're starting up and you don't have engineers at hand, one of the models that we use before I joined the company was augmented service. We had a professional services lineup as part of our startup ecosystem. So and then you have to measure as you continue, and as a CTO, as a tech director, as a tech team, you have to continue to measure the growth, the product growth, how fast it's scaling, your tech debt, your budget, which is very important from a CapEx standpoint, from an operational standpoint. What is the spend? How much money you have for new feature sets? How much money you have to scale? Things of that nature. Those are all deciding factors as you progress, as your company grows. As your startup grows and evolve, where do you want to be? In our case, we use the augmented service or professional services at this point, but we are at a juncture. We are measuring our tech debt, and we are in the process of hiring our in-house engineering team. And that is a very strategic and tactical decision we made, depending on where our product lineup is at this point and at this stage. And here are some of the measures that you can use, and you can definitely, I'm sure all of you will have access to the slide deck. Some of the measures that you can use on measuring tech debt. And this is a model. Again, this is not something I invented. This is out in the, if you Google it, you'll find it. Again, a lot of these things you have to keep in mind. You don't have to reinvent these things. We have so much of research that have gone into these matters that we just have to use it and tailor it to our need and curate it to how we want things to work. Then from there, once I did the reflection and I said, hey, human capital, really understanding the cost factors of it is important, I get into the thinker part of the process. Here is where I bring in the infrastructure as a service, the platform as a service, and our true SaaS product. How does it all come together? So from a gardening standpoint, it is important that the infrastructure as a service and the platform as a service work seamlessly to energize the SaaS product and the delivery of our SaaS solution. In our world, within Link, we use our AWS E2C solution that is very scalable. When I started, we were paying. Here, what you need to keep in mind is the cost factor, right? You have to position your product delivery from a consumption standpoint. So you only pay for what you consume. So we were paying about $20K when we started. And we had to scale it in a way, where we understand, and position it from a true consumption standpoint, where we brought that down, the cost down by $10,000. So no matter how small or large your company is, really understanding your infrastructure as a service is important from a DevOps standpoint. And then you layer that with your platform as a service. That's where your backups come in, your disaster recovery come in. All of those kind of matters need to happen. So if your system go down, from a DR standpoint, are you able to spin up a new environment quickly? And so really positioning that is key. And all of that come together and integrate really well into our SaaS platform, where now we are able to deliver a SaaS solution that is quick, that is robust, and that is effective and efficient from a consumer standpoint. Then from there, on the tinker scale, we jump into the qualitative and quantitative models. So we heard about earlier speaker regarding data science and how vital and some of the risk factors. It was an amazing talk where a lot of information insights were shared, and I absolutely loved it. And within Link, what the approach we are taking when it comes to qualitative, the emotional driven data, and the quantitative, which is very, very scientific, very, based on the usage and adoption and core action use of the product, really understanding those metrics is key. So our data map, again, this is not something new. We did not invent this. This is out in the world. We are repurposing it for our need. So from a business intelligence standpoint, for our qualitative and quantitative data models, where we are at on this chart is at the monitoring level. So we started our reporting, solutions. We started doing our analysis solutions, and we are into monitoring stage. So where in this scale, what we did was our NPS, our Net Promoter Score, out to the audience through the in-app NPS surveys went out through our marketing team. People who did not engage, we started sending out NPS surveys to that set of audience. And then it's helping us to do the analysis, make some core decisions from a business standpoint. And now we are monitoring it. Our ultimate goal is to further positioning our product, positioning our technology and our domain to get into forecasting, into predictive analytics, and ultimately into prescriptive, because we want to take our product into machine learning. We want to introduce AI into the PD world, where it is very AI driven at a stage where it looks into the qualitative and quantitative models, where we can build the ML and really get into prescriptive framework. So that is the advanced analytics where we want. That is our ultimate goal when it comes to business intelligence. So we have a clear path. So within your domain, as you're building this framework of your BI, really or your data science, really, having something like this would definitely help you map it out, really from a strategic standpoint and also from a tactical standpoint. Content rich and critical mass. So if you think of any SaaS product or any solution out there, if it delivers content, how rich should the content be? And, how much of critical mass do where do you want to be from a critical mass standpoint? So if content is king, rich content is the emperor. Keep that in mind. So a strong, rich content marketing growth strategy can help with awareness to activation and even retention rates. So for us, we, from a PD standpoint, we are a content-rich SaaS, and we continue to build content using our partners, our collaborative partners, several of partners that we have aligned with, and also within Link, we are generating a lot of content. And a lot of these content, keep in mind the new trends of video and media and audio content, along with the text is very important. So, the Instas of the world and the TikToks, and where people want capsules, instant, very small content delivered to them, where they can hear, they get inspired, they, in this case, they have a spark, they're able to reflect, tinker, and grow. That is the kind of content model we are creating, where it is small in capsule formats, it is hitting the audience, it is engaging with them, and they're getting what they want when teachers, they meaning the teachers, go into the classrooms. For us, critical mass, when you think about critical mass, making it easy, to work with the start is key. So when our teachers go into a product, we have an amazing product team in place right now that is looking, we had several problems. We were able to identify as part of our NPS score. Our NPS score, when we did last year, we were at -20. We are at about 0 right now, which is anything about 0 is an amazing improvement. So we're at 4 right now, which is a great score to have from an NPS standpoint. So that is, and we'll be running more NPS campaigns in the next 6 months or so. And it is important to know that, creating a product, a strategy map, a product strategy roadmap, where the ease of use, understanding the core, the meat of the product that the users need to engage with, how easy it is. So we were able to identify the pain points of our users from that standpoint, really make that difference. So really positioning our product for ingesting huge critical mass into our solution. Again, activation rate, measuring the activation rate. The first, once you activate a user, within the first 7 days, how are they engaging with the product? It really helps, understanding your mass from that standpoint. The adoption, that really helps you understand and positions you to understand the adoption rate and the usage rate of your product. If your product is not being consumed and used within the first 7 days, we have a problem. So that is something that we have identified. That is something we are working towards, and we're seeing a lot of progress and a lot of changes as far as the play goes, as far as the playbook goes when it comes to critical mass. Another big part from a CTO standpoint is really, no matter how small, from a small to medium business or how large your company is, consolidation of administrative technology is key. So when you look at the complete ecosystem from a CTO lens, that is something that a lot of CTOs, a lot of CIOs miss. And this is an important part because it is important for your budget. It is important for your revenue. It is important to understand your audience. This really brings, that earlier question about cross-functional teams working together. This is an engine that will deliver that. So bring in all those integrations together. So in our case, we did a study, and the study was already done. We used that study to help us position our system of truth or center point of truth. So the study was done by Forrester Consulting on behalf of ServiceNow, which is a user services platform, a help desk platform, which is well-renowned, and it's heavily used in pretty much every vertical you can think of. So what really that research, what it helped us was, having a unified platform. With that comes greater business agility. So we talk about agile framework, we talk about Scrum, but we many times forget about agility. How fast and pivot, how fast you can pivot when it comes to agile models, not only from a project management standpoint, but also from a process standpoint, right? So a question to ask for yourself is, are you digitally mature? How digitally mature are you from a product standpoint, from a product lens? And then creating that single point of truth to create agility, it's going to help you to get there much faster. And that is a key piece that we're doing with the link. Making systems integrate and smart. It really helps once you create that kind of single point of truth. You're really positioning your product lineup to not only be well integrated, but also positions you to scale and make those technologies even smarter. And from a budgeting standpoint, really understanding these kind of integrations really help us to kind of understand the CapEx needs and the OpEx needs from a technology standpoint. And that is an important piece, right? IT budgeting is an important piece. And if you really just like your personal financing, you have to think it from that standpoint. If you don't have IT is, in any vertical you take, IT is the largest spent, not only from a labor standpoint, but from a technology standpoint. Since we are an online company, a lot of the hardware necessities, it is mute for us. But at the same time, we have infrastructure costs. We have, from an infrastructure standpoint, from a platform standpoint, from a SaaS standpoint. So really understanding the CapEx and OpEx is key. So if I give you the lineup of our products, we use for our CRM and marketing and link, we use HubSpot. And we use we have a bidirectional data flow that we are creating with our SaaS product. We have a bidirectional data flow from HubSpot into our finance engine. We use a product called Sage Intacct. And from there, HubSpot becomes a single point of truth. And then from there, we are creating the BI, the data science that we need to really understand the qualitative and quantitative data. So we are putting together, we use Redshift for that, Amazon services, exactly, because we are an Amazon shop. We want to keep it within that space. And so from creating that single point of truth is very important for your tech ecosystem. This leads us to grow. So now that I've covered all of these various tactics, within your tech ecosystem, you will get a garden. So now you have a beautiful garden, within your technology space. And quickly, what does our garden look like behind the scenes? So I covered the human capital in place, product stack aligned with core business and ready for scale. Our products are, positioning a product to scale at least for a decade is very important. Technology solution, again, aligned for scaling. System consolidation for agility and decade worth of scaling. CapEx and OpEx solutions in place. Data science engine in place. Vendor management in place. So from a CTO lens, these are the core things that I look for, and I want to make sure that these are in a well-oiled machine, and it's all up to par and up to the strategic and tactical direction the company wants to go. And so that completes my talk, and I will take questions at this time. And also, just to quickly give you about LinkSpring, you can visit linklearning.com to learn more about LinkSpring, and you can go to mycalllife.com to learn more about my call life.
That was great. Thank you so much, Sam. I think everyone will get an awful lot out of that. We didn't get to the answers in time to answer them when you were going through your presentation, so I want to do it now, just to let you know some of the words that came through. So we got impressed, we got inspired, we got enthusiastic, engaged. So we definitely have some excited people here. I don't know if you want to add anything based on those responses, but
I love it. I love it. I'm so happy for those responses on here. Really, I'm even super excited to see the responses, and it's just again amazing opportunity. Ready to take some Q&A.
Yeah. Yeah. So it looks like we have somebody that had a comment that you might want to elaborate on. It's not a direct question, but please, everyone, if you do have questions for Sam, this is your moment to put them in the chat. So D said complexity is agreed. Complexity is the kryptonite to curiosity and creativity. So that part really resonated with her. I don't know if you want to expand on it based on her response there, but that was something that she pulled out.
Sure thing.
That he pulled out, sorry.
Yeah,
I'm like the pictures are so tiny.
Yeah, right. Complexity,
Yeah.
Keeping things agile. Agile is within the tech space, we use that word so much, and it's so saturated. And creating complex solutions, especially when you're delivering a SaaS product, and it is out to the audience, and they look at it, and at the first, again, from an adoption standpoint, within the first 7 days, if they're not engaging, we have a problem with our product. So we need to make sure our core user base are engaging, and creating a complex solution actually creates a lot of bottlenecks, and it serves as a blocker. So like Dee said, it's a kryptonite, and it's something, no matter, again, how small or big your company or the solution you're working on is, creating a very ease of use product. And really, again, for that matter, that cross-functional team coming together, having that conversation, and really understanding the audience, really doing pulse check with our audience is key, and really understanding, what is that they really need. So in our case, it's teachers, and really giving them what they need so they can take back to their classroom and really engage with their students and provide solutions is important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was really taken aback by the idea that you need to provide the plan to scale for a decade worth of scaling. That's a lot of foresight, right? I mean,
Exactly.
you have to really have a vision and think about how it's going to unfold and unfold and unfold and unfold. So that's
Absolutely.
that really caught me.
Yeah, because
How do
many
you do that? How do you make sure that I mean, I know we tend to look, okay, I just need to solve this problem and then I need to solve the next problem. How do you not only think of your head's hard, right?
right, yeah.
I don't even know what I'm doing for, for the holidays this year, right? That like, but 10 years from now as you know, as a CTO, that's difficult. Talk about a little bit for us about what that looks like. How do you do that?
Absolutely. So you are, when you are, I'll touch a few of the products. So in our case, from an administrative standpoint, the lineup I shared about HubSpot and various other products, you have to look at, when you are creating solutions, every solution has a cost impact, right? If you are a startup company, you don't have a lot of budget to play with. You don't have a lot of money to play with. So how do you position a product? How do you create the lineup? How do you create the integration? Not for you to change it next year, but rather you need to be able to scale it. So our HubSpot solution, which we created the central point of truth for our administrative processes, really brings us together, because it's an understanding that it is not first of all, you don't want to sign up for a product that is now will be a legacy system the next year. You really need to understand the market space and the usage, how how effective and efficient it is. And with so much of technologies laying around now, it is important to identify, does this product really integrate with other technologies that you need, that you want to use. So in our case, really that integration was one of the decision factors, and also the understanding all of these various technologies to see what is their future, what is their direction. From a HubSpot, from a CRM standpoint, we're like, okay, this is where they want to take this product to. So it's going to be, they have grander plans for the product. And so from a company, from a startup company ecosystem standpoint, we look at it and say, okay, this is what we want to do. These are our problems from why we want to consolidate and create more agility with our, these are the reasons, because we want to create a cross-functional ecosystem that is seamless and integrated. So, and we need to be able to scale it rather than going into Salesforce. Now you're talking about a whole different budget, requirements. You see what I'm saying? So really, you have to understand your budget. You have to understand the cost impacts. You have to understand the seamless integrations that's at play, and are you able to scale it for the next 10 years? So when I introduce these things, I look at it from those vantage points and see if I'm able to scale for the next decade. So that really gives me an impression on cost factors. How much of CapEx I need to have, how much of OpEx I need to put in play for this to work the next 10 years. Same goes for our SaaS product. Our LinkSpring is our SaaS solution. And our product team, as they're bringing in new product feature sets, understanding the requirements of the audience, and really looking at, integrating, like I said earlier in my talk, existing technology. So we are looking into integrating Flipgrid into our product. So bringing in existing technologies is an important piece, because teachers are really familiar with those existing technologies. So scaling at that level for the next decade within your platform is key. I hope I answered the question, but
I think it's great. It raises another one for me, which is I know that, I know as I have scaled my own company, every time you hit a new milestone, there's a new set of problems, right? You solve one set of problems, and then all of a sudden you're at milestone 3, and at milestone 3, a whole other set of problems arise, right? Are there milestones as you're mapping out that scalability for the next 10 years that you need to prepare for, so when you hit them, you're aware, okay, we're going to have a new set of challenges or problems that are going to arise once we have scaled to this point?
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up. Milestones are very key. It's important within the ecosystem. So we build about 3 years worth of milestones, 1 to 3 years. And that really helps us to gauge all of the products that we have, technologies that we have, both in-house and also our SaaS product. We are really able to scale based on that. So milestones are very critical. We build it within Link the first 1 to 3 years, but we have a grand vision for 10 years. This is where we want to be. So that is in our head all the time. As far as we want to have 100 million teachers using our product from a professional development, that's our grand plan. But for us to get there, we have to take these measurable steps to really position our lineup, the entire ecosystem, not only just our SaaS, our core product, but the entire ecosystem need to play really well. And it has to be a well-oiled machine for your core product to energize its space and grow, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And is there any way to predict what those new challenges will be after the 1 to 3 year mark that you're saying is in terms of a milestone? Is there any, I know a lot of times it just arises when it arises, and you have to deal with it as it happens. But is there anything to help you prepare for those inevitable issues that will arise at the end of that milestone?
So
predict,
to a certain degree, you're able to. really gauge it and predict, because you're really looking at some of those, from a data. This is where data science come in, right? Really, the qualitative and quantitative data, from a product standpoint, you're really putting it out there to understand your audience, and how does that really work internally within your team, with this tech ecosystem that you've created. Is it all coming together to really serve this audience that you're serving through your core product? So we are able to predict some of those pain points, and if we don't fix this, we're going to hit with this problem in the next year. We're able to kind of gauge it and measure it. So that kind of data science really helps us to get those kind of measures in place, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It definitely does. Well, do you have any final thoughts or feelings that, or any? I keep asking this, but I'm liking the responses, so I'm going to keep doing it. Are there any, it's like kind of 3 takeaways, that you want to impart to people that you've learned the hard way, that maybe you can just give them the easy way, so they don't have to live through the same issues that you faced?
Yeah. So one of the things the hard way, as a CTO, and also while I was serving as a CIO, one of the things that you I had to learn it the hard way, and that is, project failures. And you want certain projects, you want certain products to go a certain direction, and sometimes you have setbacks. You want to go live with a product to market strategy. You want to get on a new feature set, and you really want to get this out there. And then you get it out there, and you have response coming back from the audience. Hey, we don't like this new. Why are you doing this? You're releasing this new feature, and now it's confusing us. And all of a sudden, you're like, okay, what did where did we fail? And we had failures like that, where you learn from those kind of mistakes. And really, and it again, both in a CIO capacity and CTO capacity. And when those failures happen, one of the key things to keep in mind is find opportunities from it, rather than beating down your team and all of you scratching your head and going, what are the opportunities? What did I learn? What are the opportunities, so that not only we release this product, re-release it in a better way, but also for future releases or future issues, how it gives you a great insight on how to deal with it. If that makes, that's one of the takeaways from a product delivery standpoint that I've learned. Again, the cross-functional, that was a great question, where really it creates a well-oiled machine. You want your team, that cross-functional, actionable measures happening, because otherwise you have, you want to know this is happening. Silo approaches, that will burn anything and everything you're trying to do, because you have a lot of delivery issues that's coming up. So those are some hard lessons, definitely, that I've learned. Again, the cross-functional engine is key, no matter how small or large your company is.
Yeah, I love that. I also, the other thing that I picked out that I thought was really interesting was you said, if content is king, rich content is the emperor.
Right.
Do you have any other examples of that you might want to share, about where you saw, that rich content really kicking into high gear and making it sail along?
Absolutely. See, so in our ecosystem, right, within the teacher, not only within our, pretty much any vertical you take right now, media content is like the emperor. Anything video, audio, the amount of podcasts that's out there. When you go running, when you're at breakfast, when you're in your car, the amount of podcasts you're listening to, amount of video content that you're looking at through your smart devices, it's just crazy. So when you have a platform that is catering to your audience through those mediums, it's important to make sure you deliver. Again, within those mediums, the ecosystem changes, it shifts. Before, people could listen to a 40-minute video content or a 40-minute podcast. Now that trends have changed, where people are, okay, they want instant gratification. They want to go in, they want to look at things and say, okay, they want to be inspired real quick. So we have to keep in mind those kind of trends, those kind of changes, and adjust. In our case, we are adjusting our media, all of our media content with a link. We're looking at, doing an overhaul and really making sure we are delivering a rich content, keep it really rich, but at the same time, bite size, where we are, teachers are being inspired real quick, and they need what they, they can take what they need real quick and take it to their classroom and deliver better content for their students.